Hello, friends. It's me. It's been a little while since I was able to record, so let's do that. Let's start with this one because this is pretty interesting. From Reddit user Don't Trim Your Antlers. Confessions of a Recovering Nice Guy. Hey, Moonhorse. Hello. I love your channel. Well, thank you. I like the way you tell stories, and I'd like for you to tell mine if you want to. Sure. It's about my journey out of the neckbeard mindset. Honestly, I could write a book about this that would bury Scott Pilgrim for eternity, but I'll give you the short version. It starts kind of light, but I'm going to get kind of deep with this, so I might pour a drink if I were you. Oh, I'm alright, but... At the time, I was your typical internet role-playing, cargo shorts wearing, it's not cartoons, it's anime, nice guy. I like beer, cigarettes, Chinese food, hentai, and not much else. I didn't have a personality beyond the media I consumed and festering bog of depression and anxiety. I had no idea how to dress or groom myself, and I brushed my teeth little enough to make dear Uncle Moonhorse gag. I mean, hygiene's important, kids. One of my favorite t-shirts was from Walmart and featured a wolf howling at a full moon. It was pretty bad. I met my best friend when I was 20. She showed up at a mutual friend's 420 party with a rich white kid on a $4,000 monthly allowance. The type that drives through the suburbs bumping Gucci Man on the way to the Neo-Confederate Manufacturing Center, otherwise known as Private Christian College in the South. Oh, I know those types. He was playing metal this time, which I later learned was a song she was showing him. This was Jax, at the time known by many as the Jackal. She had a pixie-cut pink hair and goth rave girl outfit that could turn a saint into a pagan. You'd think I'd have been stricken, but I was such an edgelord that my brain said, "Player 2's entered the arena." I immediately switched the conversation to what obscure black metal I was listening to, and she asked me if I'd ever heard of Polka Dot Cadaver. I talked about the wild parties and massive bonfires we had out in the country, and she regaled us with a tale of going nuts in a warehouse while a DJ laid down the law. We're toe-to-toe, evenly matched, stoned out of our minds, and locked in the ancient duel of edgy goth kid. Oh, I remember those days too. But then she broke out the big guns. Joke about eating babies, the fucking nuclear bomb of edgelord cringe. Somehow I managed to riposte and narrowly escape with my head. "Do you have yours with ketchup or mustard?" And she just laughed and said, "Barbecue sauce." We shared a genuine laugh at our first joke, and that was the spark of our friendship and my immense crush on her. I didn't see her for a while besides on Facebook. We met again at some asshole's apartment. I'm not calling him an asshole because of any mental Dorito residue, but because he was genuinely a fucking asshole. Once upon a day drink, he and his friends got target practice blowguns at the local army surplus store. I feel bad now because I'm the one who recommended them, seeing as my dad got me one when I was 12. I'm a country boy, and that's the type of thing we play with, but we're also usually being hovered over by our fathers as they reprimand us about weapons safety. It never occurred to me that they were going to be such dumbasses with them. I wasn't very socialized or educated on the stupidity of some people at the time, so I figured they just wanted to shoot some cardboard boxes. But no, these two fools liked to shoot the needles across their apartment living room while it was full of people who were just trying to hang out and have a drink. Yeah, I think you were apt on calling them some asshole. Shortly after, one of them went through a bad breakup. A few days after that, a rabbit hopped in the yard. I won't go into detail, but you can put two and two together. It triggered Jax, and she broke down into tears. One of the dull light bulbs tried to hug her, and she screamed that she didn't want to be touched. He stormed inside and pouted for the rest of the day, but I felt bad for her. Not in a "this will earn me brownie points of the girl I like" kind of way, but like my heart hurt for this person kind of way. It was a feeling I wasn't used to, which I later learned was empathy. I sat with her and we talked about our past for an hour or so and found out that we had a lot more in common than we thought. Similar thoughts, similar traumas, similar awkward teen days. We had a barbecue later that night, but Jack said she didn't want to go because the same two guys who started this whole mess would be hosting it. I told her I thought maybe she should go, and that skipping would only give them shit-talking ammunition, and that she should walk up in there like she owned that place. She did just that, because underneath all the insecurities, that's the type of person she is. She wound up having a great time while the guy who tried to hug her pouted in his room all night. After that, she didn't come around much. She had loaned a book to the asshole months before, and when asked for it back, he told her that she would need to hire a delivery service to come pick it up. Being chivalrous and neckbeardy self, I offered to bring the book to her. This act was definitely an attempt to earn brownie points with the girl I liked. And it worked. We started hanging out more. We'd stack empty beer cups at a hipster cafe and spend hours laughing and roasting our fellow patrons. We'd talk about movies and life, and she'd challenge my beliefs about women. I'd want to respond with black pill bullshit, but she was the girl I liked, and I didn't want to push her away, so instead I'd started responding with, well, what do you mean by that? And she'd just destroy my point. Thing is, it all made sense. I liked her, so I listened, and damn it if I didn't change my entire view of women. I learned that her favorite artist was Todd Smith, and her favorite holiday was Valentine's Day, but she also taught me that a lot of women are scared of men and have many valid reasons to be. She taught me that being nice isn't a personality trait, and that I should work on empathy and compassion and kindness. She gave me a space to show my emotions and taught me that I don't have to feel ashamed for crying. Most importantly, she taught me that it's okay to be depressed as long as I find a healthy way to express it and don't become a fountain of toxicity. I had no concept of the journey that would become, but every day is another chip off the marble. I've since learned that it's constant and careful work, like Michelangelo sculpting the David. We kissed the day after Valentine's Day. The other guy, in reality, the guy she was hooking up with that I was in denial about, had totally screwed up her holiday, and I decided to swoop in since they weren't technically official. I gave her a heart-shaped chocolate box full of weed, and her lips brushed mine like a monarch in the fall. How romantic. At 21, it was my first kiss, and we kissed the next day, longer this time, and I melted into 1,000 drops of milk and honey. I was absolutely in love. My dumbass had decided to ask her the next day if she wanted to just be friends. I asked her this because I still believed in the friend zone and thought go ahead and get that conversation out of the way, little knowing that she would interpret this as me stating I just wanted to be friends. I realized my mistake and told her that I actually liked her, but it was obvious to everyone that I wasn't ready for a relationship. She and her partner became official, and she told me that she knew I liked her, but she didn't feel the same way. I said I understood, but what I understood and what were true were totally different things. What was true was that she had decided that she wanted to remain friends because she didn't want to put the expectations of a romantic relationship on me or lose me to a bad breakup. But I only understood why she wouldn't want to date me. I understood that I was a loser. I understood that nobody would ever like me. I understood that nothing mattered and life became hopeless. Within the next year, Jax was forced into a financial situation that moved her to Florida with her parents, and I got my first DUI. I had a brush with the law before, where I got put on 1129 for half a gram of weed, but I didn't think much of that. Hell, my first DUI wasn't even that big of a deal to me. I was depressed and falling to a void of black pill ideology, so what did I care about spending a night in jail? Once again, on probation, I continued to be a fool, although I did learn some things during this time. I was regularly attending a small metal bar called Daisy Dukes and met some people. I totally flipped the script. I always leaned towards dressing goth, but I bought a vest, got my waist-length hair, which I'd started taking care of and braiding, shaved it into a mohawk, and I definitely did it to look like Ragnar, but it was a big step out of my bubble. Through making friends, I started to understand what Jax meant when she said she just wanted to be friends. I started to escape this whole friend zone. More accurately, I started to realize that being friends with someone is an honor. The amount of courage it takes to open yourself up to another person and hand them your darkest secrets and deepest thoughts with no expectations or judgment is staggering. At Daisy Dukes, I met a lot of cool people who wound up becoming like family, and they were always there when I was feeling down. They did nothing but encourage me, bolster my personality, and adore my laugh, which I now let fly regularly and organically. I met them through a friend of mine who played the LARP I had recently joined. It's a combat-oriented game that treats LARP more like full contact sport. Bellegarth, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. I made a lot of friends, and in the absence of a shell to hide in, kept expanding my boundaries. It felt really good. I no longer lived in a constant state of anxious depression. I even had the opportunity to meet some strippers, and it turned out that they were super cool people and had misogyny down to a science, hustling dirty old rich men in the club for a couple of $1,000s per night. I watched one of them who beat my friend who works at a rock quarry in a push-up contest. They were badass. I didn't want to sleep with them. I didn't want to date them. I just wanted to hang out with them. I started becoming more flamboyant with my expressions and flaunting myself and walking into places like I owned them. It was a little cringy, but it's a vital step in becoming who I am today. The problem here was that I still had not addressed the root of the issue, my trauma. Eventually, I got into cocaine. One time I spent $1,000 on it in a week and wound up with a handful of blood I blew out of my nose in the shower that morning. That's when I decided to quit, but still wound up going back to jail twice for various reasons. I was out of control. My third and final stay in the jailhouse lasted 9 days and gave me the opportunity to go cold turkey and decide to fix myself. I told them I wanted help, and I thought I had PTSD. Next thing I knew, I'm in the mental health court system with court-ordered therapy, a PO who actually understood what I was going through, rehab, and a judge who let me know that she wasn't fucking around. I was more than happy to participate in the program if it meant not eating another government bologna sandwich. By the way, if you ever go to jail, don't eat the cornflakes. They have rat shit in them. Best piece of advice I ever got. It's sad how many people are in there for months and years at a time for nonviolent crimes. Kind of makes you think that maybe jails, prisons especially, prey on the poor and homeless, farm the taxpayer money as they fill cells, and exploit prisoners as slave labor. I'm not saying I didn't deserve to go to jail, it's just my opinion on the issue. I agree with that opinion, actually. In jail, I spent 18 hours in the suicide box, which is nothing compared to how long they leave some of the poor souls in there. They throw you in a cell, naked except for a blanket, with a toilet, a sink, and a metal bench with no mattress. When you need to use the John, they don't give you more toilet paper than you can survivably swallow. Did you know how much toilet paper you can survivably swallow? Not enough to wipe your ass with, apparently. Needless to say, I forgot about all my stupid fucking girl problems. I had some real problems now. When I was let out, I literally skipped back into gym pop. I learned that while I should always strive to be a better version of myself, I should also find comfort in the things that I have, because, things can always get worse. Jail was a trip to hell and back, but being on probation was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Proving myself when the sun was out and life was good didn't mean anything. Proving myself only meant something when it was getting dark and my options were get a fire or freeze to death. So I lit my Tinder and stoked it, dove headfirst into therapy. I learned everything I could about who I was and why I did the things I do. I found validation and ease and a sense of self-confidence. Real self-confidence, not that performance bullshit I once perceived as self-confidence. I admitted that I was bisexual and stopped pretending that I didn't lose my virginity to one of my guy friends when I was 15. I finally had sex with a girl and had a lot of fun because she was very patient and basically walked me through everything. I even got a pair of drop-dead sexy boots from a local oddity shop along with some jewelry. I like to clack and jingle when I walk down the hallways. I don't know if that's cringy or not, but it's a mood. I wear combat boots every single day, so I can kind of relate. About a month or so before I graduated college, I got a job working at a fish counter in Whole Foods. It gave me a chance to develop my people skills, meet some really solid friends, one of which was my manager and the vocalist of a fucking rad local punk band called Stuck Luckies. Support and promote your local music scene. Absolutely. Jax moved back to town and went to school for a master's degree in counseling, while I sold fish and lived in an apartment in an area of town that some would call rough. I lived there for a year, moved out, back into my dad's house. Technically living at home, I called couch surfing in town because home was 35 miles away and I didn't have a car. It was almost like camping. I had the gear on my back and nothing else which usually included a couple of changes of clothes, a phone charger, a book, and a pint of whiskey. I'd kicked the coke and opioid habits, but I didn't have the willpower to give up all my vices at once. To this day, I still smoke weed and drink, but much less often than I used to. I worked at Whole Foods for 3 years, answering stupid questions, learning from an old man with a 20-year career as a commercial fisherman under his belt, and learning that if I didn't break my people-pleasing habit and stop taking shit, I was going to go mad. I learned how to fillet a fish perfectly. I have my own set of knives and everything. That's totally beside the point of this story, but I'm proud of that. Well, you should be. Since then, pandemics hit and I have a job closer to home. I cut out a nice little place for myself in the pine trees of my dad's property, and I'm living in a tent. It's kind of nice, gives me a chance to take a break and focus on little things. Winter's coming. I think of current affairs are going to get a lot worse before they get better, so I'm going to buy a winter tent and wood-burning stove and stay out there for now. I started going to the gym, and it's become my new habit. I still smoke and drink, but I no longer feel the need to escape my own mind, so I don't worry about it if I run out. I've been eating healthy, and my digestive system has changed to where I can't go back to pizza, wings, and beer on a daily basis. My mental health is the best it's ever been, and it's getting better every day. Things that used to send me into weeks of misery now roll off me like water off a duck. I developed a solid personality that other people really enjoy. I'm magnetic, and I love it. I love myself, and I love who I've become. I even love my past self, because if I didn't have that starting block, I never would have taken the journey to learn how to get to where I am now. Existence is beautiful, even at its darkest. So, here's where we go deep. Buckle in. To the guys in this room, because of Jax, I now know what it means that women are people. It means that they are human beings, like myself. They're just as scared, just as insecure, and just trying to survive like everybody else. But the difference between me and them is that I will never be afraid to do something as simple as walk down the street. I wear a spiky vest with Thor's hammer on the back, either a kilt or black jeans and Harley boots. I have the forearm of a 50-year-old construction worker and the biceps to match. I don't think anybody's going to mess with me. But where I am comfortable, the 90-pound girl walking home from the closing shift fears for her life. Sexual assault is one of the great destroyers of people's souls. Being assaulted is the very soil that my seed of hate and self-loathing was planted in. And it happened when I was really young. I've been dealing with this for 20 years, and I'm only now starting to learn how to manage the trauma and let it go. No human being should ever have to go through that, and 1 in 4 women are forced by slimy pieces of bottom-feeding worm shit that embody every aspect of the phrase a wolf in sheep's clothing. 1 in fucking 4. Like my dad says, the foxes ain't just in the chicken coop, they built the damn thing. That's obviously not okay, but for some vile reason, we as a society allow it to go on, things like, oh, she's exaggerating, she was flirting, or she was wearing blah blah fucking blah. It's not just sad, it's incredibly disturbing. And if this does not mortify you, then you've forgotten what it means to be a human being. Greed pushed people to enslave others. Greed pushed people to create hierarchies that turn women into subservient accessories in a social market. Greed is what keeps pushing Olympian-tier scum-fucking bastards like Donald Trump to seats of power. I mean, yes. Greed is the reason the planet is dying. It's one of the largest and most expansive genocides in human history, was committed to make room for vicious conquistadors, European slave traders, and other such cannibals. This greed is exactly why I was a neckbeard. I wasn't a neckbeard because I was bullied or because of my trauma. I was a neckbeard because I felt entitled to the tits and ass that were being pushed in the media, and I was consuming with no regard to the individualism or the humanity of the women I was drooling over. I didn't want a girlfriend. I wanted a commodity. I was a greedy child infected with toxic masculinity and patriarchal bullshit. Greed infects us from the CEOs decimating the environment, to the piece of shit who guilt trips women into sleeping with them, to the boy who thinks he's entitled to something he's not. And what do they tell people with naturally rebellious personalities? They push the idea that humans are a disease, that there's nothing you can do about it, and the only solution is to kill off X amount of the population, but why bother? We're all going to die anyway. Just keep consuming, munch your plate of shit, and devour the people closest to you, and you'll be fine. So you ultimately become apathetic and conform to this rebel without a cause archetype, or you turn into something rancid that never leaves the basement. In the best case, out of sight, out of mind. In the worst, direct contributor to our collective suffering. Our Mother Earth is sick because we are sick. She is our living God, and we continue to let powerful men abuse her, just like we continue to let entitled men abuse women in this country. In this system. This system is repulsive. We have to put a stop to it. Reading feminist literature is not enough. Sharing memes is not enough. Condemning the patriarchy is not enough. We have to organize and end the reign of these tyrannical children and confront misogyny and chauvinism wherever we see it. To quote Thomas Sankara, "Comrades, there is no true social revolution without the liberation of women. May my eyes never see and my feet never take me to a society where half the people are held in silence. I hear the roar of women's silence. I sense the rumble of their storm and feel the fury of their revolt." End quote. I'll see you on the picket line. I'm turning 28 in 2 weeks, and I still don't have a girlfriend, but I don't really want one anymore. I want a partner. I want someone who can take care of themselves and live life but chooses to be with me because they want to. And I continue to strive and live up to that expectation because it's only fair. More than that, it's my responsibility as a human being. We should all, every single one of us, strive every day to be the best, most compassionate, most loving, empathetic versions of ourselves. It's not easy, but it's necessary for our survival as a species. I believe that the reason I'm not a full-blown incel right now is not simply because of education or a change of clothes, but because of baby steps that ultimately resulted in a spiritual awakening and the reconstruction of my perception of reality. It was never about the things I was learning, but how I applied those things to my everyday behavior and inner dialogue. Theory is useless without application. I believe this journey is the cure for the virus, and my hope is that we all take it together. Heaven and hell aren't places you go after you die. They are what you can create from this hurricane of existence. Imagine what you could achieve. From my heart to yours, my fellow human being, I love you, and thank you for listening. Well, I gotta be the first person to say, that was fucking beautiful. That was an amazing story, and I can't thank you enough for sharing it. I don't even really know exactly what I can add, but yeah, I agree with all of your points. That's amazing. And first off, I'm so really happy and proud of you for turning your life around and getting to this much better place. This is wonderful. This is absolutely wonderful. You know, we don't really get chances, and sometimes we do on stream, but we don't really get a lot of chances in videos to talk about the more serious and direct aspects of things to do with neckbeard, nice guy, incel mentality. And a lot of it is this, what was just described. It was this kind of mentality where they have this feeling of entitlement. But we have this feeling of entitlement because that's constantly what's pushed. There's this mentality of entitlement. It's supposed to be the way things that, the way that they want things to be. But that's bullshit. People aren't commodities and you can't own them. And yeah, there's a lot of this mentality of just like, a lot of the mentality I've noticed when it comes to a lot of these guys is this idea that if they have a girlfriend, have sex, something, that'll somehow make their lives like a million times better. I used to have these kinds of conversations with former neckbeard friends that I had, where they would say that kind of stuff, like, it'd still be so much better if they had a girlfriend or something like that. And it's like, but how though? Like, if you have a plan like that, if you really truly believe that, much in the same way Chris Chan did this shit about like just needing to get laid, just needing to have these things, like, just have to have sex, have to have a girlfriend, have to have, I don't know, some other option that I'm sure I'll be left in the comments. But if that's supposed to make your life so much better, explain how. And if your logic doesn't pan out, if you can't use that and actually, come to a conclusion that your life would just be better because of these things, then it's not. these are powerful feelings. Sexuality is an incredibly powerful feeling because it's one of the many emotions that's directly rooted to a very core portion of our brains. And yeah, we've evolved a lot, but we still have that old world thoughts stuck in there where it's just like, need food, need water, need reproduce, things like that. But you kind of have to really think about the world as it is, like the way things are. You have to look at this from a different light. It would be nice to have, a relationship or something like that. But it's not 100% necessary. So, much like our wonderful friend who sent in this fantastic story, self-improvement is the first step. And I've always said, and I really hope that a lot of people who are in the kind of, I don't know, like, I guess it's like web boards, chat rooms, whatever groups that they're in that perpetuate these kind of constant negative, thought processes. This is the kind of experiment that it worked for me, and maybe it'll work for you guys too. Basically, start doing something that you think is self-improving. And if you feel like you're doing pretty good at it, you're going to want to share it with these people you consider friends. And if you do, and the only thing they tell you is like just completely negative things, if they're just, like, oh, it doesn't matter, you won't get this, you won't get that, all these other things, those aren't your friends. Your friends want you to be able to, like, improve yourself and be happy. And if, working out or swimming or like painting or, whatever you think would help improve yourself, if those things are what makes you happy and the people who claim to be your friends are not excited about the things that make you happy, they're not really your friends. Real friends don't do that. It took a long time for me to learn that kind of shit. I was surrounded by a bunch of really negative people too. And eventually I moved away from all that. I cut that kind of stuff out of my life. And things have been 1,000 times better since then. And they just keep getting better. So, a lot of the advice that our friend here gave us is absolutely fantastic. Is just wonderful, and I can't thank you enough for sharing your story. On like kind of a weird side note, your description of like all this survival and camping gear stuff, I'm hoping to get into that too very soon. The weather's not nearly as bad as it used to be. Summer down here isn't great, but hopefully I'll be able to do stuff like that, and maybe I'll make a few videos of going places and doing things. I guess we'll see. But either way, this was a fantastic tale. I'm very happy, and I hope you guys are happy. And I hope you're all doing okay, and I hope everything's just wonderful. Just one other thing, I have noticed a couple of you have left me comments because I keep calling the drop-down description goofy things. And it's like, it's called the description. I know what it is. I'm calling it something stupid on purpose. I'm sorry. I didn't know if nobody got that. It's just me being stupid. But yeah, either way, you should check out that thing. The one. That thingy down there. I'm not going to say the name of it again. Because there's a bunch of links to interesting stuff in there. And, there's a lot of merch. You can send in your own story. All these other things. And more. Actually, there's a couple more in there, too. You can do that. In fact, if you ever want to send me random shit, my address is in there. I have a P.O. box. It's on there. And, yeah. That's about it for this, so thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this story. I love you all very much, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.